Hey everybody, I'm Ryo Yamaguchi, the publicist at Copper Canyon Press, and you are tuning in to season 4 of our interview series, Line Break, which goes off the page and into the poems and minds of our beloved poets. We've had so much fun over these seasons, hearing poems, talking about writing, books, life. It's been one of the favorite things we do at the press. So friends, for season 4, a format change. For this season, we are doing some close reads. Each episode will focus on either a single poem or a single topic, wandering away and returning and wandering away again along all the little paths we simply can't resist. The episodes will probably be a little tighter, a little shorter. We can't say for sure. Thanks for joining us. Nikki Wallschlaeger is a real human being. Maybe that's obvious, but it's a starting point for me because her poems in the forthcoming Hold Your Own and in all of her books paint one of the most detailed portraits of the complex, shifting combinations of qualities and energies that make an individual who they are. There is the fact of her intersectionalities, being Black, a woman, a mother, living in the upper Midwest, and also the fact of the middleness of her life, having this specific history, a specific set of hopes and frustrations. At once vulnerable and full of power, these poems are so recognizable to me precisely because they are idiosyncratic. One can see the human alongside the humanness in what are often acutely focused subjects, encounters or assessments that are not only poignant microcosms of the great questions, but enactments of a living mind working through them. One of my favorites is a poem called I Could Really Go for a Deep Hug, which begins in a small encounter and with tremendous momentum builds toward something much bigger. I'm so happy to be with Nikki today to talk about this poem. Nikki, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Yeah, I love this book so much, and I think some of it is because of, well, everything I just sort of described. I feel like I recognize myself and get to know you at the same time, in it, and I think that's really wonderful. I mean, there's a friendship to the poems kind of already, if I don't mind saying that word. But how are you feeling about with the book coming, like in the spring and things like?
I'm really delighted that it's going to be coming out in the spring, because spring, especially late May, is one of my favorite times of the year, where spring is just in full bloom and active and energetic, and there's no going back in late May in Wisconsin. So yes, that's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm relatively familiar. If you maybe could you describe for us like where you live a little bit? I think it's actually a really special kind of part of the country. Like, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I live in the southwest region of Wisconsin, an area called the Driftless. And it's called the Driftless because it's unglaciated. So millions of years ago, when there's these glaciers coming through North America, or as we know it as North America, this area, they didn't come here. They didn't flatten everything like the rest of the state. So, it's surrounded, I'm surrounded by all these like small hills that are millions and millions of years old. And it's just very special. And it feels, warm and ancient.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Totally.
Mhm.
I've loved it there, and I think I mentioned I lived in Chicago for a long time, and we'd spent so much. It was a refuge to go to the Driftless, for me, like towns like Viroqua and stuff, kind of central areas. Like, um, I love that ancient feeling, and also it's such a good kind of agricultural community, right, or something. Like
Oh,
I think of
yes.
like harvest festivals and things like that. Like, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, the kind of, organic, like the organic farming is very big here, organic valley and stuff. So it's also, a different kind of community involved
Yeah.
farming, going alongside with food justice and environmental justice too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so fantastic. Is there, do you feel, is most of your writing practice in that location? Like, do you feel rooted to it, in your
Mhm.
poems? Like, yeah,
Oh yes, yeah. I'm
It's
rooted here.
totally, totally. It was kind of
Um,
one of my main questions reading through the poems is like trying to picture you in your practice. So I was sort of, I mean, I had kind of a basic question of just like you describing sort of what your writing practice is, like if it's, in the mornings or the evenings or whenever you can, that kind of stuff. But yeah.
well, actually, the cover of this of Hold Your Own is taken
Yeah.
from my backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my clothesline.
Fantastic. That's
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I can write anywhere, but
yeah.
it definitely changes with, with the environment. Like my writing is mm, the book, I am already working on the next book. So
Yeah.
that one is going to be more involved with, you know, deeper exploration of the roots in this area, because by then I'll have lived here like long enough to feel that I have, something more to say. But
Yeah.
this whole book, Hold Your Own, was written while I was living out here. So
Yeah.
it's just, like the beginning of my rooting out here, because prior to that I lived in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, and I think it's a big, I mean, it's a big change to go from the city to kind of rural life and things. And but I also think of this book as rooted in like the world. I mean, and just, I mean, it's dealing so directly with so many social issues, and and so I'm also kind of I've also had this sort of curiosity about. I think it's. I mean, I'm very familiar with all of your books, like, and I see this as part of your larger oeuvre. But I'm curious if you have a way that you sort of distinguish this book from the others you've written and the next one that you're working on, or like how you feel it fits. I don't know if you
Oh,
would describe it that way or not, but yeah.
oh yeah. This one here. Well, I was married for 17 years,
Yeah.
and I've been divorced for 2 years. So Hold
Yeah.
Your Own is, you know, pretty. It's about holding my own, like to being on my own and finding myself again, and developing a life that I am happy with, and working through the things that I wasn't happy with, and things like that. So this is a very special book. It's a turning point for me
Yeah.
in a personal level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel it, I feel it there. And I think it is the directness of the speaker and kind of like I was trying to kind of get at in the introduction of like I really feel the poet or the speaker like working through issues, trying, there's just the flow of I guess stream of consciousness, I guess maybe is a word we'd use or something like that. I don't know if you would describe it that way, but I see it very much. I mean, it depends on the poem, but
Or inner
um
dialogue.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 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 yeah. Total inner dialogue. Like um well, maybe instead of Grassy for Straws, maybe we should hear a poem. Like, I mean, I wouldn't if you'd be up for it.
I would
Like,
love to.
yeah, I do love this poem. I could really go for a deep hug. It's such it's kind of a simple title, but I think it gets so complex right away. And anyway, whatever. I would love to
Okay.
hear it if you'd be up for reading it. Yeah,
I could really go for a deep hug. Free hugs, screamed a white man at the hippie fest, but I wouldn't hug him. An unknown, a man, old enough to be my father. It was the first time I saw hugging as a kind of currency among the countercultural. It was cute, I guess. I hugged women I'll never see again, didn't even know their names. I saw women hugging that man. He seemed okay. Everyone knew him. But you never know. He believed in those hugs he was giving. He could heal the world, but I didn't trust him. His hugs were fishing for something else. Trust your intuition, Nikki, which I did that time, and smiled, walked by, hugged women instead when they asked. I'll hug my sisters. We share histories. It was comforting, resting for a minute from bad men, probably, ourselves, the powers that permeate. There was no reason to advertise these hugs were free. No reason at all. Currency was out of bounds. We are beyond women holding beyond the value of labor. But the guy kept screaming from his position every day, free hugs, free hugs. His wide eyes, he was so convinced he had what it takes, selling it, declaring himself free. Come on, people, now I got these free hugs, human contact at no cost. But something was not right. Like when they tell you we're lucky to live in the land of the free, to be proud, the hugs he was giving out cost someone something somewhere, probably a woman, where he acted out on her body what he wasn't capable of giving. Now he was free of her and his women troubles. He was the purveyor of free hugs. Meanwhile, women, total strangers, hug each other everywhere, waiting in line to use the bathroom, trying to put our lives back in the aftermath. A coworker suddenly reaching over to hug you, letting you know she's here with you in male-dominated spaces. I hug you back and mean it, except at first it might be a shy hug, half hug. But when my body hurts, thieving ache, low down blue ache, fellow man, I mean, no, dude, I don't want your hugs. Screaming enterprises of touching women benevolently. For real friends, kinfolk, women who understand to share a deep ache of another day of terror perpetuated by the US government. I could really go for a deep hug by women and femmes, the country's #1 targets. We're not supposed to ask for what we need. Here I am, asking for deep hugs. If someone is interested in hugging, I'll hug back with what I can hold, which doesn't feel like much to me at the moment. Maybe it'll be enough for who I'm hugging. Maybe I need reminding I can survive. We should survive, strengthening ourselves sweetly.
Yeah, I do. I love it. I mean, there's so much happening in this poem. And I do think it's like, well, there's the title that, hold your own. I mean, that some of it is that I think where it's like, oh, and it's the idea of holding like, but it's so sophisticated, the currency of affection that you're talking about. And, and then this kind of the building of community with women, and then also kind of the sort of structural things that we were talking about. I love this self-address in this of the poet, talking herself through it, of the scenario, and then trying to read also kind of a situation, that too, reading someone's intent and stuff. That's such a sophisticated thing to me, like in a social setting. And with all of that kind of happening, all the plate spinning, I'm also just really curious if like, well, I kind of want to know about like the origin of the poem a little bit. Like I'm sort of curious, like what festival you were, if it's real, if the whole story's real
Yeah,
too.
it's real. This
Yeah,
was
yeah,
actually a rainbow gathering I went to when I was 19.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was like 20 years ago.
That's so wild. I've been to a couple rainbow gatherings myself, actually. There's some regional ones in particular, but there's
Yeah, I
the one
went
that,
to, it was in Utah, at the top of the highest mountain peak that you could have access to in Utah.
oh, wild. Yeah,
Yeah, there was like 30,000 people there. And it was the first and only one I've been to. I mean,
yeah,
I had a lot of fun. I just wandered around and just kind of enjoyed what was going on. And,
yeah,
like it was a great experience to see that people can figure out how to live on their own
yeah,
without money, and that it's possible, even if it is only temporary.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I love the kind of culture oriented around the kitchens and
Mhm.
of course so many creative and spiritual kind of activities going on. Like, yeah, yeah, it's really well, and I guess that provides like more context too, because there's also capitalism is kind of is a subtext to this whole poem, that this
Mhm.
idea of the currency of affection, but then and then when you get to the idea of kind of an oppressive government that's like later in the poem and thinking about that as all capitalist forces and things too. It's really strange. Like,
Right.
yeah. Did you this kind of like critique of the free hug, idea, like or the awkwardness or sort of the suspicion around motivations, of that, was that something that like occurred to you immediately in that encounter, or was it something that you kind of worked through in the poem? Yeah.
Both. Both. It's just, it was, I just found myself thinking back to that man and like how suspicious I felt of him and what he was doing. And it took me a long time to put it together in this poem. But yeah, at the time it just felt odd to like advertise
Yeah,
human contact
totally.
in a place where capitalism is, you know, not eradicated completely. I mean, it's still kind of there in other ways. So I guess I was also looking at that too.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I mean, well, I think that, and I think that's part of it. And I kind of want to relate this to sort of other kind of social commentary critique poems that are in Hold Your Own, because realizing that this is in like an intentional community, we might call it, or something, an alternative space, um, but also showing how pervasive still some of these structures are, even within something that tries so hard to be separate and different. Um, I'm thinking of a visual I have from being at a rainbow gathering once too, where it was in the kind of barter market, and
Yeah.
this guy had this like big chunk of chocolate, and he was just shaving off pieces of chocolate for whatever. Like so like I remember like trying to quantify like what is this like sliver of chocolate like, gonna do I trade a quesadilla for it or something? Like what's like you're still in a weird economy, like
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yes, exactly. I know
Um
exactly what you mean. Yeah, the bartering area there's weird energy there. Like there's people that have these beautiful things like crystals and stuff, and like nothing could please them.
yeah, to let go of that, to do a trade or to do a,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
just it could see it was making people upset, and it was just affecting this vibe of, you know, generosity.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Like, how long did it take for you to write this book? And were these like occasional poems, like from the practice of writing every day and things, or
Hmm.
like, or did you feel yourself? I mean, I know you're going through a lot of life changes, and your family is changing and stuff, and sort of just like curious how much these poems lived within that, or if they were written in a really condensed period of time, over like just a few weeks or months or something. But yeah,
Over a few years.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I like to think of my books as like documentation of a period of my life that I'm, you know, going through. Not
yeah,
necessarily like not journals, but
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
yeah, they follow my life. My poems come with me.
yeah.
So wherever I'm at, you know, in my life are going to be where the book is going to start to shape itself.
Yeah, and the poems are there. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's wonderful. I mean, and I think that's maybe one of the main reasons I'm so drawn to poetry, is because it doesn't need to. I mean, there's a tradition and a trend of like project books that are like around certain things or designed certain ways. But I love what I kind of think of as quotidian poems. That poems that feel that they're written every day and are interacting with the kind of ups and downs and nuances of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And I really,
mean, I'm the project.
yeah,
I'm the subject.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That goes back to the old, I don't know, what's like a Sylvia Plath thing, right? Or something like, I
Mhm.
think. So I also think of the hug poem as kind of like a manifesto for women. And I don't know if you would describe it that way or not. But I'm curious if you feel that the poems, or this poem in particular, like is it for women, like in this case, like,
So another thing that I was thinking of when I wrote this poem was how many times I've been at shows or concerts or whatever, and you know, women go to the bathroom and we're all kind of, you know, tipsy or whatever, and
yeah,
just the spontaneity of conversation, and then just end up hugging each other. Then you never see them again. Like women do that a lot. So
yeah,
that was that was also something that I was thinking about that went into this poem.
yeah,
The
yeah,
spontaneity of like that, whether it's named as, you know, solidarity or not, I mean, it's still there. We recognize each other.
yeah,
Yeah, in those moments. And, you know, I just want to emphasize too the spontaneity of it, a spontaneity of warmth, as opposed to a man like holding a sign that says free hugs and screaming about free hugs all day.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of an interesting juxtaposition, right?
No, it is like, and what I think, I mean, I think it gets at, well, there's like a hypocrisy, I guess, to it, like the idea of like free hugs, that, like I'm not going to charge you anything for this, but the context is still, I mean, back to capitalism, like the context is still like this market. He's still advertising, you know,
Right.
like,
Yes. He's
yeah,
still advertising. Right. Right.
yeah. No, and then versus what you're talking, you know, versus like the spontaneity in the bathroom line where it's like, no, but it's there because, and so there's like the need for that hug, the need for that affection is more prevalent, it's more powerful, and it is the true alternative, I think, to what's otherwise being screamed as an alternative, but not, you know, I don't know.
I
That's
mean,
all very apparent to me.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, I don't know the guy. Maybe he's just lonely and he was just this, was his awkward contribution to the Rainbow Gathering vibe.
Yeah.
But these are just my thoughts. And I hope he, wherever he is,
Mhm.
gets what he needs because
Yeah.
like many people, he's probably also, starved for touch and affection and love.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
that's
for
just
sure.
my reading of it,
Yeah.
of the practice of
Mhm.
how he was asking for it, not necessarily what I think about this character of a man that I don't even know. So it's more about the practice. And I've
Yeah.
seen I've seen people do that too, like advertising for free hugs elsewhere at like street festivals and stuff. And I always found it kind of curious.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, and I think the poem is so generous to this person also in that it is about the
Good.
practice, and
I'm
I
glad
think
that comes through.
no, it does. I don't think it's mean in any way. Like I think it follows that person into whatever into the mysteries of what their intention is, you know, and that it's like kind of that he's also someone who's caught up in this kind of odd system or this odd structure that we can't escape, you know, or something. And back to the hardbound capitalism thing, you know. It was familiar to me too because I mean I've also being at concerts another guy. I mean I've seen this person, I've seen this whole thing take place too with the free hug thing, and
Yeah.
you know, and some of it's like maybe it's like it's a call for interaction. It's wanting to interact with the stranger, like, you know,
Yeah.
and I sort of respect that, but like um you know, it's yeah. So there's a lot of authentic ways to do it too, I suppose. Like, well,
Yeah.
I'm curious if your experience in giving readings or talking with people about poetry, I mean, if you've ever had like a surprising encounter with someone like after a reading or around poetry, like what the reception is like, because I do think of your work often as like really interacting with people where they are, like, you know, and yeah, I'm curious if you've ever had like either surprising or even just like a nice interactions with folks, you know, after reading or after sharing poems with people, like, yeah.
The friend of mine that hugged me at my reading, because he recently read Water Baby, the last reading a
Yeah.
couple weeks
Your
ago.
last book. Yeah.
Yeah, he read Water Baby and it says it was beautiful and disturbing. And I thanked him because
Yeah.
yeah, because yeah. And I told him, like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm not really one to ignore the disturbing things in life. So I took that as a compliment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe I hear that as beautifully disturbing, you know, or something.
Yeah.
Like I said, that the beauty is in also yeah, in
Yeah.
truth and in recognizing, recognition, you know.
Oh, I did have
No.
somebody call my poems terrifying.
Yeah. How did that feel like? Did that feel different than disturbing? Like, was it,
Mhm.
yeah. Did you view that not as a compliment? Like, or yeah.
Um, I mean, I think they're talking about themselves more about
Yeah.
me and brought something out in them that they're terrified of. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you're on your own with those feelings.
Yeah. For
I'm
sure. For
not
sure.
responsible for that.
Yeah.
But I was amused. Amused by that. My poems are terrifying. That's amusing to me.
Yeah. It's a complicated word, you know. I don't
Uh-huh.
want to induce terror, but I do like the idea that a poem can make someone come face to face with something that they're unwilling to come face to face within themselves or something, you know. I mean,
Sure.
that's
Or
good for all of
within,
us, right? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, or within society or the world and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah,
And
that's really,
also, people do like to be scared sometimes, right? I mean, otherwise there wouldn't be a horror movie industry.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I was gonna say too, I mean, like if you, I don't know, sometimes I'll hear kind of stories of like odd interactions from a reading or something. And some of that is I feel like, well, if you're going to a poetry reading, right, like you have to be relatively primed for any manner of emotional, things that are going to come to you. Like, I mean, it's a poetry reading, like that's the whole
Mhm.
point, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
and I kind of
But
like
I
that.
know there's many people out there who, think that poetry is going to be safe and fairly innocuous.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose you're right. Yeah, yeah. This brings me to kind of another question I've sort of had that again, a little bit about your practice, but thinking about like poetry as, I don't know, do you feel rooted in its traditions? Like how much do you think that poetry, how much do you want poetry or your own poems to kind of be innovating or to be pushing new terrain and boundaries, or or how much do you feel kind of related to like its traditions and what it's sort of always done for people and things like, yeah, or somewhere in the middle? I'm sure you're kind of straddling both things, but
I mean, I have done this, like crawl space. My second book is all sonnets, and then my first
yeah,
book,
right.
Houses, is all mostly is all prose poems about different colored houses. Those two books were at the time when I had this attitude about titles.
Yeah,
And I wanted, I was really focused on the whole book being like a book, being really together. So they're all related with their titles like that. But I guess with the past two books, um, and the one I'm writing now, I've broken out of that and I've gotten comfortable with titles. So
yeah,
I guess where I'm at now is just to be able to let the poems take whatever form they need to take
yeah,
and
yeah.
still be a part of the community of the book.
Yeah, that's great. I was thinking, I'm conscious that we're kind of running up here on time. I think the kind of time really slipped away from us. I wouldn't mind hearing the poem again if you'd be up for it, or if there's something else you'd want
Sure.
to read too from the book. I mean, whatever you'd like to do,
Yeah.
you know?
I'll read another one and then I'll finish again with I could really go for a deep hug.
Cool, awesome. Okay.
God walks out of the room when you're thinking about money, after Quincy Jones. God slams the door on a lot of folks these days. The billionaires, he slammed the door so hard the door broke off on its hinges. Dearest daughters, wealthy men across the board with their women think they invented beauty. If you go downtown, lesser demons scramble on their hind legs for any piece luminous with delusions of wealth. God realizes this, but as I said, God is still human and has his idiosyncrasies. Instead of finally doing something about it, he grabs his jacket, slams the door, and takes a cab to his favorite tavern. Outmatched in cleverness and technology, he hasn't figured out how to speak to his children since they left the house. They are supposed to be working, each demanding their own empire. And since God hates feeling guilty, he pays some of them off. Believe me, my broke ass has called his office more than once. Nearly impossible to get an appointment, which is just as well. For generations, women have been surviving with God and will keep surviving without. And then I could really go for a deep hug. Free hugs, screamed a white man at the hippie fest, but I wouldn't hug him, an unknown, a man old enough to be my father. It was the first time I saw hugging as a kind of currency among the countercultural. It was cute, I guess. I hugged women I'll never see again. Didn't even know their names. I saw women hugging that man. He seemed okay. Everyone knew him. But you never know. He believed in those hugs he was giving. He could heal the world. But I didn't trust him. His hugs are fishing for something else. Trust your intuition, Nikki, which I did that time and smiled. Walked by, hugged women instead when they asked. I'll hug my sisters. We share histories. It was comforting, resting for a minute from bad men, probably, ourselves, the powers that permeate. There was no reason to advertise these hugs were free. No reason at all. Currency was out of bounds. We are beyond. Women holding beyond the value of labor. But the guy kept screaming from his position every day, free hugs, his wide eyes. He was so convinced he had what it takes, selling it, declaring himself free. Come on, people, now I got these free hugs, human contact at no cost. But something was not right. Like when they tell you we're lucky to live in the land of the free, to be proud, the hugs he was giving out cost someone, something, somewhere, probably a woman, where he acted out on her body what he wasn't capable of giving. Now he was free of her and his women troubles. He was purveyor of Free Hugs Inc. Meanwhile, women, total strangers, hug each other everywhere, waiting in line to use the bathroom, trying to put our lives back in the aftermath. A coworker suddenly reaching over to hug you, letting you know she's here with you in male-dominated spaces. I hug you back and mean it, except at first it might be a shy hug, half hug. But when my body hurts, thieving ache, low down, blue ache, fellow man, I mean, no, dude, I don't want your hugs. Screaming enterprises of touching women benevolently. I'm looking for real friends, kinfolk, women who understand, to share a deep ache of another day of terror perpetuated by the US government. I could really go for a deep hug by women and femmes, the country's #1 targets. We're not supposed to ask for what we need. Here I am, asking for deep hugs if someone is interested in hugging. I'll hug back with what I can hold, which doesn't feel like much to me at the moment. Maybe it'll be enough for you, for who I'm hugging. Maybe I need something reminding I can survive. We should survive, strengthening ourselves sweetly. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I just love the poem so much. It's the sweetly at the end too, you know, this turn, I think, from, you know, all this energy, and then it just has this kind of, it just has this little flip at the end that is, I don't know, I find it really comforting. You know, yeah, even as it is so engaged and, you know, and yeah, I don't know. Well, thank you so much. It's really great to hear both, and I love it. And the first poem you read too was really wonderful. I remember that too. Thank you so much again, Nikki, for being here. I just love that poem so much, and I don't know. It was just nice to have this kind of like ranging, wandering conversation about your practice and kind of what the poems do, what they mean. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just grateful for you. So thank you.
Thank you for having me here. This is wonderful.
Yeah, it's really great. Well, and I wish you well going into the new year, whether it's with resolutions, or at least maybe every resolution should be to just write another poem, right, or something like that. I know I definitely have that one, so we'll see where we get. But this is a great way to close out the year, chatting with you about this. So thank you again, and thank you all out there for joining us. This is season 4. I think we're coming pretty close here to a wrap on the season, and I just appreciate all of you joining us for all of these conversations, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks.